Welcome back to our Fire Stop Coffee Break training. This video is going to introduce you to a product called the Fire Gasket and give you all the information you need to ensure that your installations are code compliant. You'll see that this product is a little bit different from the other devices you've seen so far. Similar to the Firebeat, it has this 3/8 inch white bubble gasket that will create a permanent seal against the concrete deck that will protect against both smoke and sound passage as required by some sections of the building code in the United States. Then on the back side, you can see that there's this adhesive strip, and of course there's an intumescent strip that provides a prescribed dose of Fire Stop that will expand and fill the deflection gap if there's a fire. And it's all packed into the body of this fire gasket, which is this pink vinyl segment that will help prevent any damage to the Fire Stop when the drywall is installed. This device is actually installed on the top track before the drywall. So you remove the paper backer and you stick it to the framing. Of course, you have to be sure that the surface of the track is clear of any dust or debris so that it can stick properly. The fire gasket comes in 10-foot long strips and in 3 profiles that work for either 1/2 inch, 1 inch, or 1.5 inch movement. The fire gasket will be installed using HWD 0515. So let's walk through the Fire Stop detail, one step at a time. Now, this whole process of reviewing the Fire Stop details is something that we strongly encourage you to do before you begin construction on a project. Reviewing the Fire Stop details against the other elements of your project will help you make sure that everything will work together. Because if you don't, then the problems in the field tend to creep up on you when you're going for TCO, and it could hit your schedule or your budget, or both. Having a pre-construction meeting where you iron out all the issues of the Fire Stop details can really help a project run more smoothly. We recommend that you have a no-fly zone that prohibits the penetration through the wall so close to the deck that it requires the cutting of the top framing member. This technique causes some serious life safety issues, and we'll get into that in our video on no-fly zones. If you watch the video on how rated joints are tested, then you already know that you're not supposed to have penetrations through your head-of-wall joints. Even if your building official doesn't call you out on it, it's still a liability for your project. If you want to know more about this, check out the video on no-fly zones. It will explain the problem in more detail, and it'll even give you some suggestions to eliminate the problems on your project. Okay, let's walk through the Fire Stop detail like we have before. For this, we're going to start with the information in the header like we always do. Let's get to our head-of-wall Fire Stop installation for our fire gasket. For this detail, we're going to look at HWD 0515. You can see that this was tested or revised and updated on June 5th, 2020. Next, we want to look at the block of information at the top of our detail. Again, we can work with both 1 and 2 hour rated walls. We can see some crazy variation in the size of joints we can work with, and the movement allowances are, well, you can see them here. And of course, it's been tested to provide an L rating also. Again, item number 1 will be information about our floor assembly, and as you can see, this is the same as the other details that we've worked with. So that means we can have a minimum 4.5 inch concrete slab or even a hollow core slab. But take a look at the bottom for a second. It says that the hourly rating of the floor assembly shall be equal or greater than the hourly fire rating of the wall assembly. So if we have a 1 hour floor, we cannot install a 2 hour wall and expect the joint to be able to survive for 2 hours. I know that seems obvious, but I just want to point it out so that you don't overlook it. Item 2, again, is any U400 or V400 wall assembly for 1 and 2 hour rated walls. That should look familiar. So let's skip down to item 3 where we talk about the Fire Stop. You can see that the maximum joint is 3/4 inch, but because we have such high movement percentages, that should be able to support just about any installation needs that we have. Fire gasket is 3A1. That's the Fire Gasket 1, so let's look at this closely. I know we said that we can have a 3/4 inch joint, but if we have a 1/2 inch joint, then we have 100% compression and extension. That means that unless your project has more than a 1/2 inch movement requirements, you can use this device if you have a 1/2 inch joint and still meet the movement requirements of the project. Now let's look at the Fire Gasket 1.5. That's found in item 3A2. When we use this product, you can use a 3/4 inch gap and still have 100% compression or extension. Alternately, you can have a 1.5 inch joint, but you'll only be able to expect 100% compression and 0 extension. There's another product you can use for a 1/4 inch joint, but I think you get the picture. If you want more information, at the end of this video, I'll give you the contact information for the manufacturer and you can reach out to them directly. That walks you through the information in our Fire Stop detail. Next up, we want to talk about what to look for to ensure the fire gasket is properly installed. It seems silly to say this, but I want to cover all the bases here. You have to be sure that the product is not installed upside down. That means that the bubble gasket needs to go against the concrete. the white side against the concrete, and the pink vinyl section against the drywall track. You can see in the FireStop system that the intumescent strip is supposed to sit along the inside leg of the framing. You can also see that the device can be attached with an adhesive script or a 1/2" number 8 framing screw. When this is installed, the contractor can either attach the fire gasket to the drywall track when it's on the ground and then install the track along with the fire gasket already attached. Alternately, they can install the fire gasket to the track once it's in place. I would guess the more deviation you have in your concrete deck, the more important it is that you install it after the track is in place, but that's up to your contractor to figure out. And if you're reviewing the installation, you just need to make sure that there are no gaps. I know you've heard this before, but I promised you that I would repeat the things that are important. So are you ready? Here we go. You know what I'm about to say, don't you? You can't have any gaps. As the 10-foot sections come together, you need to be sure that you have tight butt joints. As the inside corners come together, you have to be sure you have tight butt joints. You can't have any gaps above the bubble gasket. And like always, if you do, you can get an engineering judgment that allows you to use FireStop sealant at the head of wall joint. But remember, engineering judgments are unique to each project, so you cannot take an engineering judgment from your last project and use it on a new project. EJs are both project-specific and contractor-specific. If you want more information on that, please go to the International FireStop Council's website. They have the guidelines for accepting engineering judgments. Also know that different jurisdictions have different requirements as well. If you're working in a new jurisdiction, just a thought, but I would recommend that you reach out to the building department and ask them how they handle engineering judgments. If you're in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, or Clark County, Nevada, you won't be able to use the engineering judgments the same way that you use a standard UL detail. We're almost finished with this video and this entire series. But first, let me do a quick recap. When you're in the field looking at your field installations, you'll want to check that the seams every 10 feet have tight butt joints. Check your inside corners and outside corners. Remember that FireStop is installed on both sides of the wall, so check both sides. If you're using a detail for shaft wall assemblies, use a detail for shaft wall assemblies and follow it. Check the movement requirements of your project and be sure that you know what size joints you need to have. And do that no matter what FireStop material you're using. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video and the end of this series. Thank you so much for sticking with me on this entire series. I'd love to hear what you think about this training. And if you have any ideas on how to make it better, or if you're looking for more information, please reach out to me. If you want more information on these products, I'll give you the manufacturer's contact information at the end of the video. One last time, I would like to ask that if you enjoyed this video, please show it on social media. Share, like, and comment in your favorite social media platforms so that other people can see this as well. I hope to see you in your next coffee break. Until then, keep learning and keep building better than you did the day before.